We've done a really good job of helping people understand that there is this thing called climate change. Almost all Americans have at least heard of it. But we've, in our own work, showed that, in fact, there is no single public. There are multiple publics within the United States. In fact, what we've identified are 6 Americas.
6 Americas.
6 different Americas that each respond to this issue in very different ways and need different kinds of information about climate change to become more engaged with it. So the first group that we've identified is a group we call the alarmed. It's about 16% of the public. These are people who think it's happening, that it's human caused, that it's a serious and urgent problem, and they're really eager to get on with the solutions. But they don't know what those solutions are. They don't know what they can do individually, and they don't know what we can do collectively as a society to deal with it. We haven't done a very good job of explaining what we can do. Then comes a group that we call the concerned. This is about 29% of the public. These are people who think, okay, it's happening, it's human caused, it's serious, but they tend to think of it as distant. Distant in time, that the impacts won't be felt for a generation or more, and distant in space, that this is about polar bears or maybe small island countries. Not the United States, not my state, not my community, not my friends and family or the people and places that I care about. So they believe this is a serious problem, but they don't see it as a priority. Then comes a group, about a quarter of the public, that we call the cautious. These are people who are kind of still on the fence. They're trying to make up their mind. Is it happening? Is it not? Is it human? Is it natural? Is it a serious risk? Or is it kind of overblown? So they're paying attention, but really just haven't made up their mind about it yet. They need to be just engaged in some of the basic facts of climate change. Then comes a group, about 8% of the public, that we call the disengaged. They've heard of global warming, but they don't know anything about it. They say over and over, I don't know anything about the causes, I don't know anything about the consequences, I don't know anything about the potential solutions. So for them, it's really just basic awareness that, they need to be engaged on. 2 last groups. One is what we call the doubtful. It's about 13% of the public. These are people who say, well, I don't think it's happening, but if it is, it's natural. Nothing humans had anything to do with, and therefore nothing we can do anything about. So they don't pay that much attention, but they're predisposed to say, not a problem. And then last but not least, 8% of Americans are what we call the dismissive. And these are people who are firmly convinced it's not happening, it's not human caused, it's not a serious problem, and many are what we would lovingly call conspiracy theorists. They say it's a hoax. It's scientists making up data, it's a UN plot to take away American sovereignty, and so on. Now that's only 8%, but they're a very well mobilized, organized, and loud 8%. And they've tended to dominate the public square. Okay? So here you have these 6 totally different audiences that need completely different types of information and engagement to deal with this issue. So one of the first tasks, I mean, you know this as a communicator as well as I do, one of the first rules of effective communication is know thy audience. If you don't know who your audience is, it's kind of like playing darts in a crowded room with the lights off. You might hit the target sometimes, but most times you're going to miss. And unfortunately, too often, you're going to do collateral damage. You're actually going to hit somebody by mistake and cause a backlash. So, you know, this is why if we were to do a true engagement campaign in this country, we would need to recognize that there are very different Americans who need to be engaged in very different ways, who have different values, and who trust different messengers.